Hey guys, so today I've decided, because it's quarantine and I'm getting bored, to make a video about altering some clothes. I don't do this a lot. I've done a bit of sewing in my days. I used to make some cushions, I used to sew a few things here and there, but I've never actually cut up clothes and made something new out of them. I kind of have, but not in the way that I'm doing it today. Anyway, basically what I'm saying is I have very little experience in this, so this is kind of, I don't know, I'm taking you along the journey with me. It's not like I'm teaching you how to do it, because I'm teaching myself during this video. For each piece of clothing that I'm altering, I was following some kind of YouTube video or some kind of steps on how to do it. And I'll leave the link for each one. But yeah, I decided to alter my clothes because I have nothing else to do in quarantine and I'm getting bored. And if you're getting bored as well, alter your clothes with me. If you're running out of ideas of things to do in quarantine as well, I also made a video. Whoa, is it that way or that way? I also made a video about things to do in quarantine when you're bored. If you want to check that out, the link will be in the description. Another reason why I'm altering some clothes is because since I had to go home from university, I left so many clothes back at university because I couldn't bring them all back with me because I don't live in the same country that I go to uni to. So I'm missing a shit ton of clothes in my closet and I'm missing them, and I didn't want to online shop really, so because one, I have no money, and two, well, I have no money. So I decided to go through some old clothes that I haven't worn in ages and see how I can alter them to jazz them up a little bit. Let's get into it. I have this old white sweater which I never wear anymore. I got it probably back in 2016. It was a big trend back then. It was a cropped white hoodie with sort of this lace zigzag thing that you could pull. I don't know how to describe it. I wasn't sure what to do with this at first because I knew I wanted to do something with it. I didn't like it, but I wanted it to work somehow. I also wish it was a tiny bit less cropped, but obviously I can't change that. You know, I'm not gonna add some material to it. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. So here's the footage on how I did that. So first, I am getting rid of the lace. I'm sorry, it just wasn't doing it for me, and quite frankly, it just needed to go. Then I went onto Google Images and looked up some flower embroidery designs for inspiration. This idea actually came to me from a best dress video. I'll leave the link down below. And once I had found a picture I liked, I headed back over to the sweater and drew out a brief outline in pencil of the shape, so I had something to follow when I was threading it up. Now, I don't actually own any thick thread, so I'm just using some thin sewing thread which I quadrupled. And now all is left to do is embroider. I went over the outline of the stalk twice for it to be nice and thick, and I didn't really stick to the design, I just kind of went with the flow. It was super therapeutic to do, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I kind of wish I could have replaced the little metallic holes with buttons, but as all the stores are closed, it wasn't really an option, but maybe something for the future. And here is a lovely shot of what the back looks like. This next one, so I took an old tank top, which I never really wear. I don't really wear tank tops anymore. If I'm wearing I used to basically have lots of tank tops to wear underneath sweaters, but now I just wear a t-shirt. I don't understand why I wouldn't just wear a t-shirt. And I found this thing on internet that it gave me some inspiration on how to do it. And so I followed that, realised it wasn't really working, and then, you know, it got messy. It was a very fiddly one. I spent hours doing this one. It was the most difficult one, but it was worth it in the end, I think. Anyway, here's the footage on what happened. Enjoy, and I will look forward to editing all that footage. So first I am grabbing a measuring tape to figure out where the midpoint of the tank top is, and then I'm drawing a line down the middle to cut along it, making sure I'm only doing so on the front side of the top. Once that is done, I'm grabbing a t-shirt with a length I'm happy with to see where I want to crop the tank top. Then I'm marking that point and cutting the whole thing up. So at this point the top should look something like this. Then, after having tried it on and figured out the right spot on my body, I'm marking where to sew the left flap onto the right side. I'm then pinning it down to secure it and stitching that up by hand. Of course, you can use a sewing machine if you have one, might be a bit easier. Okay, so I've just secured this with a safety pin, but I think that this is just a bit too tight around here, so what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to cut a little bit here so that then I can bring this over, make it more of like a crisscross. So I'm going to cut until up to about here. Okay, so I think I figured out what to do. I'm holding this across here, I'm going to sew that down, but I've pinned this bit, which was originally like the neck of it, and I've pinned it up to the sleeves. I'm going to sew that together somehow, but I think I'm going to start by sewing this bit. So I'm going to draw a line across here. I find this part really stressful when you have to like decide. I'm making sure to mark on both pieces of the material. Now that that's all figured out, I am securing the right flap down with pins and then going in for the stitch, so that now it looks something like this. Now, for the straps that are still pinned down from when I tried it on, I am cutting off some of the excess to make it easier to sew, and then pretty straightforward, I'm just sewing the two bits together to form the straps. And then I am pinning down the sides of the straps and sewing a seam to make it a little bit cleaner, and of course, cut off the excess. I think I got a little bit too carried away here, so learn from my mistakes, but it still kind of works. And finally, tuck in the excess fabric at the bottom as neatly as possible, and then, surprise surprise, sew the seam, and of course cut off the excess. But voila, you are done! So here is a brief before and after. I'm so happy with the result. Even if it took quite a bit of fiddling, it didn't turn out so bad. And finally, the last DIY, I took this old shirt, flannel, whatever you call them. I never wear this anymore. It was, you know, it's a bit too basic for my taste. I love flannels, but just not these types of flannels. It's not my vibe anymore. But I do like the pattern. So at first I thought I might be able to do like some kind of headband, which I might still do because I've still got a lot of material left here. But instead I decided to make a scrunchie, and I've never made one before. I don't have a sewing machine, so I had to do it all by hand. I mean, you've probably guessed by now that I don't have a sewing machine because you saw that previous DIY and I was clearly spending a lot of time sewing that all up. It's very tiring. But it's also very therapeutic. For the scrunchie, I literally put Legally Blonde on and was just sewing in front of it, and it was really relaxing. So if you don't have anything to do, just find something to sew up and put a movie on. It's very therapeutic. So for this, you will need an old shirt or flannel, some scissors, a hair tie, some thread, and a needle. Oh, and also a marker and a ruler. First, make sure to say goodbye to your old shirt. It's a step like any other. And then I'm starting by cutting a rough rectangular shape to make it easier with measurements afterwards. Then I am grabbing my marker and measuring out the dimensions of the rectangle. I was following a Generation DIY video, I'll leave the link down below, but I ended up doing a 43cm long by 8 to 9cm wide rectangle, giving something like this. Then grab your hair tie and fold that material around it. It's kind of hard to explain, but hopefully it will make sense if you do it yourself. It's going to be inside out at this point, so make sure to have the side you want visible on the inside. And then just start sewing it together. Just a straight stitch, nothing fancy. This takes a while, but just put a movie on and the time will fly by, I promise. So then it looks something like this, and you're going to turn it inside out. It's pretty long, but nothing too tricky. And once that's done, it will look like this, and I'm just taking the two loose ends and inserting one into the other like so. And finally, sew that bit up. To make it as little visible as possible, I'm just threading through a piece from the bottom and then a folded over piece from the top, if that makes any sense. I'm sorry the video isn't very clear here, but Generation DIY's video explains it a lot better, so I'll let you go to that link in the description. But this is how it turned out. I'm actually super happy and impressed with it, and also how easy it was. So that was the video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I know it was a bit all over the place, but I hope that you got some ideas out of it, or at least it entertained you for a few minutes. And I hope that everything is going well wherever you are in the world, and that Quarantine still hasn't gotten to you too bad. Here in France we're supposed to be deconfined on the 11th of May, so that is coming up quite soon and I'm looking forward to seeing my friends again. Anyway, I will see you in my next video. Bye! Don't know what that was.